Welcome back to the Caffeinated Cruiser. My name is JD, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new Triumph Tiger Sport 800. I am so excited about this bike, and I hope I can put into words exactly why. This is built off of their same inline 3-cylinder sport bike engine that they've used for their Trident 660s, the Street 765s, and a ton of other bikes. These engines are famous for making tons of mid-range power, for being able to find that sweet spot somewhere between a twin and an inline 4. So they rev out quite high, but yet there's tons of usable torque for the street. On paper, this bike makes about 115 horsepower, 70 foot-pounds of torque, and only weighs about around 471 pounds. I nearly bought one of its predecessors. I was heavily interested in the Tiger 1050 from the early 2000s, the sportier road-going model, not the more off-road models that they offer now, or the Sprint 1050. And I did get to test ride a Sprint, and I found that that bike was, again, pretty heavy for what it was. It was lighter than my FJR 1300, but still weighed quite a bit. And it made a lot of heat, and that was why I didn't get it. And I really wanted the Triumph Tiger 1050, but I couldn't find one nearby or that was at the right price for me. This new 800, no, I can't afford it personally today. However, I think this is that sweet spot where it almost meshes the two of them. This is a road-going, road-focused adventure sports bike. It's got 17-inch tires front and back. It is set up to handle. It is set up for twisty roads. It is set up for touring. This bike is a jack of all trades, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I really mean that as a compliment. This is the kind of bike where I could see myself getting on it, and whether I was riding to work or I was going on a camping trip up north with my buddies, I think this would be the type of bike I would be really excited to get on every time. And I personally think this is actually a really attractive looking bike, specifically in that bright yellow color. I don't know exactly what it is about this bike that I like so much, because when I look at just the headlight alone, or maybe I look at just like that semi-fairing that it has in the front alone, it's not in and of itself very attractive, but yet I feel like all the different parts of this bike put together make a very attractive bike. I might be the only one, but I think this is a very cool motorcycle and in a sweet spot of the market that I want to see more bikes in. I have this working theory that more people would be happier if they were riding bikes between a 650 and 800cc engine. I really do think that is where you have streetable power, that the weight makes sense, that the features make sense for what realistically 99% of us can do on the street. And I think that always chasing super fast bikes or chasing the biggest bike or the loudest bike or whatever is maybe doing some people a disservice. I know personally, right now with the bike I'm riding, which is a 2009 V-Strom 650, I'm having so much more fun on that bike than I ever did on my FJR 1300 or any of the other larger cruisers that I've had over the last couple of years. And I think it really comes down to the fact that I feel like I can push that bike and I can rev it out and I can, open the throttle wide open for a couple seconds. And when I look down, I'm really not going that fast. It might sound weird to want that, but I do find that maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but having bikes that I can ride and ride to maybe 80% or 90% of the bike's capacity at a time, but still not being going go to jail speeds is actually a lot more fun. It comes back to the old saying that it's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. I personally hope that we see more bikes like this come on the market, and I hope that there is more choice out there. I was trying to think of what does this bike actually compare with, and honestly the closest thing might be something like the Moto Guzzi Mandello B100, or maybe the new Honda Transalp, or the GSX 8S, I think is what Suzuki called it. But each one of those bikes I think is fundamentally flawed in some way. With the Transalp, I believe it's a 21-inch front wheel on it, which makes it very slow handling side to side. Even though a lot of people do say it handles well, it still has a 21-inch front end. And on a bike that's going to be used on the street 99% of the time, it just seems like an oversight. With the Suzuki, The one I'm specifically referring to being the fully fared sport bike version of that engine. That one, it is more committed and it is much less of a tour. Yes, it's kind of a middle ground. It's not a full sport bike, so it's not a full tuck, but at the same time, that is not a bike that's going to be nearly as comfortable as this new Tiger if you're riding for maybe an hour or 2 hours. And then when it comes to the Moto Guzzi, as much as I think that is a beautiful looking bike, it's a Moto Guzzi, which means it's probably going to break down, it's probably going to burn oil, or things are just going to randomly fall off of it. And I hate to say that, but that's probably the truth of it. I think why I'm so excited about this segment of the market specifically is I don't think there is enough of these mid to small size, full fledged sport tours. And that might sound weird, especially as someone who just bought a V-Strom 650. But I think what a lot of people actually want is not an adventure bike, but it is an all day, comfortable sport touring motorcycle with wind protection and luggage, but yet that doesn't weigh a ton or break the bank or have to be so crazy fast or so crazy powerful that you're always tempted to go straight to jail. And I want to see more bikes like this. You know, it sounds weird to say this, but it reminds me a little bit of the old Honda Silverwing from the 80s. That bike was small, it was compact, it was light, it had luggage, it had space for two up, it had a full fairing, it had all the comfort of a giant Goldwing. And I think that that segment of the market has completely vanished. You are either getting monster sport tours that weigh a ton and make crazy horsepower, or you're getting some sort of adventure bike. And again, I think those adventure bikes are inherently compromised because you're always getting some sort of 19-inch front end or 21-inch front end, which means they handle poorly on the street or not as good as they could be. And they often come with crazy tall seat heights, as well as, you know, the weight is carried super high up on them. You know, it's from the center line and up versus being carried at the bottom of it where it's easy and manageable. So you're stuck right now with either getting these big bagger sport tours, quote unquote sport tours from like a Harley or even the new Honda Rebel bagger, or you're getting an adventure bike. And there's really not a whole lot in the middle. And I think that the 700 to 800 cc part of the market, that is where the best bang for buck is when it comes to street riding and street performance. And I think we need more bikes in that category. I can't think of another bike that is geared towards the street, but yet has the wind protection and, you know, the fairings and the luggage and all of that. Again, I'm sure there's some bike I'm forgetting, but I think that market needs more in it. And I think people like myself who maybe graduated past just wanting naked bikes or sport bikes or even cruisers and whatnot, I think that's a really attractive spot. I love my new V-Strom 650. I honestly think that's an awesome bike. But there are some times where I wish it just had a regular old 19-inch front wheel on it. I think it would make the handling that much better. You know, with the exposed oil filter and sump and all that, there's no chance I'm taking that thing off road. I don't need that bike to be able to do that, and I don't really need it to pretend to be able to do that. If that bike had regular sport touring rubber on it, I would like it just that much more. So I think that comes to the end of my rambling. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'm sorry that it's not super educational on this specific bike or details around it. I just want to share my thoughts on why I'm personally excited to see this part of the market start to have some activity. And I hope this means we get more bikes like this. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me or disagree with me, as well as let me know what your favorite color is of this new Tiger Sport 800. Thanks so much for watching. Keep two wheels down. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.